So this one is about stop motion animation. So I really don't know a huge amount, so I'm going to stop talking. So please welcome onto the stage Joe Powell from Crosshairs Productions. So I'll leave you with Joe to learn all about stop motion animation, why he does it, how he does it, how you can get involved, and I believe there's a premiere of a brand new short he's just made as well. So stay tuned. Right, over to you, Joe.
Hello everyone. Hello. I had no idea how many people to expect for this, but this is definitely more. So, wow, how are you all doing? Good, good. I'm presuming that everyone's here because they're in some way interested in stop motion animation, or at least, thank you. I love Me Too. At least 3 of you know who I am. Or you've just got nothing better to do, because it's just a very quiet Friday evening. So I'm here to talk about stop motion animation, as you might guess. We're going to have a little slideshow just talking about like the equipment that I use, talking about my credentials as well. I have ideas about my station, I'm not professional. And then we'll have, there's a little preview of a new animation near the end, and then we'll have a little Q&A session, so that sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Yep.
Cool. First slide, please. I've got the wonders of the steam age. So my name's Joe Powell. I go by the alias Crosshairs Productions on YouTube, formerly Crosshairs-001. I'm an animator, writer, director, and actor and voice actor. My interest in stop motion began when I was a young boy. We've all come across like Wallace and Gromit and all that kind of stuff. That was a big part of my childhood, and I feel like that did have some influence on the direction that I took. I also watch a lot of like brick films, so Lego stop motions. Those are really popular, still very popular now. And then I eventually got into doing Transformers stuff. When I started watching this guy called Night/2020. I don't know how many people know about him.
Yeah, I know.
Oh wow, that was, again, more than I expected. He now goes by a different name, but he's been doing this, I think, about 12 years. So since 2007, since the first Transformers, the live action film came out, and he's still going with that. It's insane. I joined May 4th, 2009, Star Wars Day. Complete coincidence, I swear. So I've been doing this 10 years. That's most of my teenage, years. What's a social life? I don't know. In that time, I've produced 3 stop motion series. So that's More Than Meets the Eye, Uprising, which were based on who read the it was the old UK Transformers comics around about the time, like 2008. When they did the whole Twilight's Lost thing where the Autobots lost the Battle of Mission City and Sam died and Nikita became the main human character. Yes, it was ripped off from that. Hope Simon Furman's not in here. So there was those. Broken Mirror was a feature-length stop motion movie that I did about 1 hour and 50 minutes, and I attribute that to failing my A-levels, but boy was it worth it. And then the sequel series was Transformers Ascension, which is still ongoing, and I swear I'm going to get season 2 out within the next 10 years. In that whole 10 years time, I've accumulated about 17,000 subscribers, over 11 million video views, most of which are on this one really bad stop-motion reenactment of the graveyard scene in Revenge of the Fallen. It has like 5 frames in it and a couple videos. It's terrible. Why do people keep coming back to that? And like I said before, I don't really consider myself an expert in my field. I'm just making stuff and learning as I go and working out, oh, that didn't work. Oh well, just carry on. Whatever. So it's all trial and error, so I don't pretend to be like a professional, but here's just how I do things. Next one. I keep forgetting this. God, I'm so clever. So, let's talk a little bit about the equipment that I use. So I use a Canon EOS 600D DSLR. One of these used cost about just under £200. This is how serious I take it, by the way. So it's got pretty good picture quality. I'd love to reel off the stats to you, but you don't care, and I don't know. I told you, professionalism. I also, you can see in the picture there, I use tripod for the purposes of transport. I bought a gorilla pod. Some of you might know. Some of you might be familiar with like a smaller version of this. This one is designed for larger cameras and DSLR, but they're like flexible legs, so you can make them like hang off trees and stuff. So they're pretty cool. In the picture, this is my film board. This is where I do all my filming. This is on. This is in my kitchen. I say my kitchen. It's in my parents' kitchen. 23. It's about like 1.5 meters by 1 meter by half a meter, and you can see like I've draped a green screen over it, and there's loads of like Transformers figures and Lego things and props as well. So that's where the bulk of my filming happens. There is also another little set, which I'm going to show you in a second, which is mega cool. Come on, let's do the thing. I love technology. Oh, I just can't click. These are just some of the props that I have made with my dad. Top right there is a space bridge that I made out of like plasticard. That ring in the middle is a microwave turntable. That's practical effects for you. In the top left, there's like a little plasticard like ship console thing that I made and painted the different buttons on. And you can see there's a chair as well for Steve to sit on because he's a bit tired after a day's filming and getting shot all the time. So that's just a few of the props that I have made. Come on. There we go. This is the Ark. You're familiar with the Ark. This is another bit of set that I made, which is really, really awesome. The wall panels you can see there are modular, so I can take them apart, move them around, put them in different positions. They've got magnets in the side as well to make them stand up properly. You can see a couple of the props at the top right there is the bridge of the Ark, and that's got like a Star Trek inspired console, again plasticard. There is a lighting rig at the top there, so that's like 1,000 LEDs across like a wooden kind of board, and then that's like diffused through an acrylic board that just sits on top there. And yeah, I can build all sorts of different rooms. So they've got the ship, the bridge there. That's like a workshop area, and I can do loads of other different rooms. The cool thing as well, the door there at the top actually moves. Unfortunately, not under its own power. I'm not that clever. But it's on like these metal rails, so I just need to like slide it along and give it a wiggle if it gets stuck. And this can also like rotate on a turntable to get like different angles and stuff. So it's really, really cool. Very impractical. I know my parents want me out of the house, but they've got the space. So this is just a quick list of the software that I use as well. Corel Video Studio is like the main video editing software. It's where I drag all like the pictures and the videos and the audio clips that I need to edit together. It costs about 70 quid, like straight up, or if you've got a previous version, it's about 50 to upgrade. PaintShop Pro is about the same price. It's like a poor man's Adobe Photoshop. But it does more or less like the same kind of thing, and I use that mostly for like cropping images and editing green screen. Green screen we'll come to in a second. Stop Motion Pro, you can guess by the name, is where I do the actual animating. That's where you literally just drop your photos into that, and it renders them at like a set frame rate. I, for some reason, film at 10 frames per second, which is a very odd frame rate. Most animations done at like 12, 24, 30 frames per second. I don't know why I've done it at 10. I just like round numbers, and it's how I've operated for the last 10 years. So don't judge me. I think the latest version of that is called Eclipse, still by the same company, but it is the same like software that Aardman uses for their projects. So Wallace and Gromit and all that stuff, Short and Sheep. You can buy that for about $185, so it's not cheap. Or you can do like an $18 monthly subscription. I must say as well, I must stress, I will get to this later, but you don't need half this stuff to get into animation if you don't want to. This is just me taking myself way too seriously. The other stuff we've got, Google SketchUp and Gary's Mod. Don't know if anyone's familiar with those programs. A smattering of Google SketchUp is a CGI modelling software, mostly used by architects. I use it to build spaceships. And Gary's Mod is like a sandbox game where I get a lot of backgrounds for like green screen shots. And lastly, Audacity. That's mostly for like my voice acting stuff. I won't go into voice acting much with this. If you want to ask like questions about voice acting, ask the professionals. You've got 3 of them here to pick and choose from. They've got a whole panel as well. It's on Sunday, isn't it? Sunday, 2 PM. Voiceover and L, that's what it is. I remember this. So that's like the main programs that I use for my editing. There we go, right. So, when Mr. David Wallace asked me to put on a panel to talk about stop motion, I said, nah, I can't do that. And then he asked me again about a month later, I was like, yeah, alright. So rather than going through one of my old animations and taking a particular scene and dissecting, it's like, oh, this is how I did this, because I don't have the patience, I'm a millennial. I decided to make an entirely new short just for you lovely folks. I'll stop it. It will be going public tomorrow, but you get the first peek, so aren't you lucky? A general question, how many people know who I am? Oh wow, okay. That's like 10 times more. So I'm presuming you guys are familiar with Transformers Ascension, which is the main ongoing animated series that I've got on right now. What I wanted to do a little prequel to that, something that would expand on the motivations of one of the characters, and also bring back a fan favourite, Lockdown. Everyone loves Lockdown. He appeared in the first episode, which was called Breakout, so season 1, episode 1, where he and Black Shadow break into Garrison 9 to try and free Megatron, who's been in prison there for like 12 years. So this, all in all, took about 3 days on and off to edit and put all together. This is between working, sleeping, eating, and socialising. I can't keep count exactly. I haven't got a timer. I should do that if I want to take this seriously. So, if you wanted to do a written stop motion, you're probably going to want a script. This is what my scripts look like. Don't do it this way. This is wrong. This is utterly incorrect. If you want to go into any kind of filmmaking professionally, there is a set way to actually put your scripts together, and this is not it. This is just the way that I've always done it, but what it basically is, title, directions, bits of dialogue, bits of direction in between, end. This altogether is about 4 minutes long, just under 5 minutes, I think. But it is quite dialogue heavy. It entirely depends on how much action there is, how much you are how much dialogue there is, how much action there is. That will affect how long the short ends up being. You will end up going through a couple drafts as well, more than likely. The first draft of this didn't really look that different to what it looks like now, a few minor changes. But you will find yourself, and I found this especially with season 2, that you will be rewriting the hell out of it up until 0 hour. The version of season 2 that I've got right now is almost entirely different to how it looked a year ago. The curse of the creatives is that we're never satisfied with what we've made. So, as you can see, I have repurposed my film set a little bit. I decided I want to set this on Junkion, Planet of Junk. And again, because I'm a millennial, and I was short on time and I couldn't be bothered, I didn't try and do a CGI version of Junkion. I literally just found bits of Lego sets. There's some of the props that I showed you before. The space bridge is in there. My gorilla pod is there as well. There's a poster tube, there's, oh god, what else is that? I don't know what this is, but it was metal and it looked funky, so I put it in. But this is done with, this sheet here is like a wargaming sheet. It's about like 6 foot long. I used it when I used to do Warhammer, and then I just found other things to waste my money on. I used that because it was like a kind of neutralish colour, and it reflects like the orangey yellow colour of Junkion that we're all familiar with, like quite nicely. So, you start filming, you pick your characters. I've got Lock down there, as you can see he's just transformed, and I drop all the pictures I've taken into Stop Motion Pro. Like I said before, this like films it at like a set rate. You can change the frame rate if you want to. I think the number of shots I did for this was about 40 shots altogether. This is not including like still images, which is a cheat. That's just a cheat. So this is great because you can add, like, duplicate frames as many times as you need to, or remove them. I've lost myself. So you can add remove frames, so you can add frames if you want to like sync up the audio. So if you've got like a dialogue that has to have certain movements to certain beats, you can sync that up and then add and take away frames as need be. Or like a trick in filmmaking is when when you're doing a fight scene, someone like makes a punch, they cut out like a frame around the punch just to make it hit a little bit more, and that's a cool little trick that you can use, especially with Stop Motion Pro. This here is this is the frame painter and rig removal tools in action. So at the top there you can see that's Armada Cyclonus, but I'm not calling him Cyclonus because Cyclonus exists as the purple horny boy. That's Tempest, an entirely different character. And I wanted to do a scene of him crashing like mid-transform. So you can kind of see at the top there, I know I'm sorry for the people at the back there, it's not really that visible, but I'm having to hold his rotor blade in my hand, and that's obscuring part of the blade. So what I can do a frame painter tool to like colour match the rotor blades, and then paint in the rest of the blade. And then to get rid of the rest of my hand, I use a rig removal tool, which takes a different background layer and puts it behind this one, and then you can essentially use like an eraser to like erase the front image and get like the background behind it. And that looks alright. It doesn't matter too much if it looks perfect, because you're going to see that for like 1/10 of a second. So it doesn't matter all that much if it's a little bit ugly.
Literally blink and you miss it.
Exactly, yes. You'd have to be looking very hard and be very picky. Don't do that. So when you drop all of them, yeah, thank you. This is what Corel Video Studio looks like. You can see I've dropped some of the video and images already in there. It's kind of in like a storyboard kind of phase. I don't actually storyboard. Again, I'm lazy, I'm a millennial, I'm killing the planet. But this just helps with timing here. But this is like basically how it looks. You've got all the video layers there. There's also text, audio, and like music layers which you can add and take away as need be. Come on, technology. There we go. Do I have to do it like this all the time? Where am I? So these are some more of the tools that you can actually use in Video Studio. Bottom right there, I decided I want to play with the lighting a little bit for Junkion. So I made it look a little bit darker. So I did like a kind of blue light filter over that to make it darker. And you can also play with like the brightness and the contrast levels and gamma and saturate and all those kinds of things. And there's other tools you can use, like there's a rain effect you can do if you want to. There's active camera, which is essentially just adding like camera shake and like different kind of rates and intensities. And you can also do lens flares if you want to be J.J. Abrams. There we go. So, I mentioned before about green screen, and that this is where I do most of like the editing for this. This is PaintShop Pro. This is what it looks like. Again, like I said, the poor man's Photoshop. I use this mostly for my green screening because the tools are a lot more finessed than the frame painter tool in Stop Motion Pro. So with this shot, I wanted Cyclone as like, I wanted to do like a kind of flying loop for him. So I just like do the rotors in like 4 different positions, and then slap him into Stop Motion Pro, and then speed up and make him look like he's like that's going round. I probably should have taken a photo of this, but he was stood on this like clear plastic box, and you can kind of see where I painted over it. So literally just paint around that and across that, and then he's hovering. Wow. Magic. Yeah, this is also a good software for like fine-tuning like white balance. This happens a lot with blue screen, is that the white balance gets completely thrown off, and I have to go through every single photo to make it look proper. And so that's why I like filming on green screen, why you won't see that many green characters in my animations. There we go. Right, we're almost there, I swear. This is the part where it's about green screening and chroma key. I presume everyone knows what chroma keying is. It's essentially removing a colour from your video. Obviously I want to get rid of the green here. So this is Black Shadow. He's flying along Junkion. So Corel has a tool where you can key out certain colours, and it essentially goes in the background there. It's not perfect. A lot of it relies on the lighting as well, and sometimes you do get these horrible like green reflections, especially on silver, like there. That's nasty, I hate it. But I found a cheat. My little cheat is you double up the video layer, and then on the layer behind it, you up the contrast, drop the brightness and the gamma, and then that essentially cancels out any kind of, when you play about with the saturation a bit, and that cancels out a lot of the reflections that you'll find. And there it kind of looks better. It's not as easy to see because it's a black background, but it does help. It does help. So, you're done all your editing. You contact your voice actors, say, give me your voice, and say, yes, are you going to pay me? No. I work for free.
Exposure.
It's exposure, exactly. You guys like exposure, don't you? Hi Dan. Do you want to be paid?
Yeah.
Good for you. So you slap all your bits together into Corel, you render that sucker, and we see what it looks like. Ignore this bit.
I give the whole attempt a 3 out of 10. The plan was tragic, execution was sloppy as hell, and the thing with the junk wrecking ball, embarrassingly pitiful.
Can I just say, I did not expect Grant, he's the voice actor of Lockdown, I did not expect his voice to sound that sexy. Coming out of those speakers. Ooh. As you can tell, I do like my world building. I do actually have, over the past couple of years, I've compiled essentially like this show Bible. It's like my all-spark almanac of the Ascension verse. Last count, it's well over 250 pages long. It's ridiculously huge, and at some point I will print myself off a copy. It will cost me millions. So starting out. Basic questions. Do you need a big expensive camera? No you don't. Do you need all these expensive different bits of software? No you don't. You can like get a decent camera without needing to break the bank too much. Like I said, this costs like used just under £200, but like your phone camera is just as good. And if you need like an animation like app, there's a couple that I did do a bit of research on this, and I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to like stop motion animation. I need to work on a computer, I can't work on a phone. But there are, I know that loads of people use their phones more than like PCs nowadays. So there are a few like free softwares you can do, like Stop Motion Studio and Pick Pack Stop Motion are the ones that I found. The basic versions are free, but if you want to take it a bit more seriously, there are upgraded versions which you can purchase. Other stuff you will need, not necessarily to do with equipment. I should as well plug Sony Vegas. That's a fan favourite editing software. But yeah, you don't need expensive. What am I saying? Hang on. There we go. Aside from all this expensive equipment, two important things that you need if you want to get into stop motion: decent lighting, and turn off the gosh darn TV in the background. The amount of animations I see on YouTube, it's like, oh, this is pretty smooth. Oh wait, I can see Hollyoaks on the background. Why Hollyoaks? So you need like consistent lighting because people do pick up on that, and it is quite distracting. And yeah, a blank background, like a piece of cardboard or something. You don't need like a full set like I do. Just something black and neutral, and like just don't get the dog in there either. He's not the star. There's a couple of useful links as well. Bear in mind as well, this is going to go up on YouTube as well, and I will be putting the presentation up there too. So if you can't read it, I'm sorry, but this will be available on YouTube in the near future, so you can look through it in your own time. Detonation Films is, well, the name kind of gives it away. This is where I get all my explosions. They're very, very nice. And they're quite necessary for Transformers. So you can buy a decent pack of explosions for about, like, I think you get a pack of 5 for like $13, and they are very good quality. They need to update their website though. I don't think they've done that since 1999. Pond 5, Audio Jungle, Free Sound, those are a couple places you can go for audio and visual, sound effects and visual effects. Pond 5 does like royalty-free footage as well, but that's stuff that you do need to pay for. The BBC Audio Library as well, that recently became publicly available. I've yet to browse through the entire thing, but if I was going to do that, I will probably get to the final page by the time I'm 37. It's huge. But that's all, that's free to the public, that's free for them to use as far as I'm aware. And then if you want Transformer-specific sound effects, TF.Cog. They've done a bunch of dubs and stuff in the past, like the Master Force and Headmaster, I think it is. But they've got a sound library there. Again, no one's touched that since 2010, but it's still got a few good bits on that. This is just a little list of some of the other animators that do similar stuff to me. So at the top there, TFX Productions, Light/2020, gonna get a hell yeah? Yeah! Thank you. His ongoing thing right now is Transformers Nexus, which, like I mentioned before, is the same universe he's been working with since 2007. That's commitment. And I'm plugging him because he was the main inspiration for me for getting started, and his storytelling is great. Josify is Australian. That's my Australian accent, in case you couldn't tell. This is why I'm an actor. He doesn't do ongoing series kind of things. It's mostly short animations, but really high quality. So he's another one worth checking out. TFI Creations is not a stop motion animator, but he's blooming good at what he does. It's more kind of like puppetry with Transformers figures, and then he does a little bit of editing over that, adding in eye glow and gunfire effects and things like that, and it is great. His two things I recommend from him are Transformers Interstellar, which he is currently remaking, and The Legend Exists, which is a prequel to The Last Night. Which, I mean, the bar's pretty low there. It's better than the actual film. Wow, what a great cheap shot from me. Take that, babe. But that is really, really good. In terms of the filmmaking as well, it is phenomenal. Grantman filmmaker, he was the voice of Lockdown. He's got his own series, War of the Matrix. Again, great animation, great visual effects, great storytelling. HLH Studios, I only recently discovered, He does animations in his room, or in his house, and you can tell it's his house, but he keeps the backgrounds like pretty neutral, like using cardboard boxes and like actual like bits of rubbish that he's found just to build like Cybertron, and the animation is top-notch. It's really, really good. It kind of it distracts you from the backgrounds a little bit. It is really great stuff. Leo Legendary does some Transformers stuff. He also does like Marvel. I think he does like some DC and probably some like anime, like Dragon Ball kind of things. But he has a subscriber count that is like 10 times mine, so I'm not jealous. Swagwave there does Transformers Prime Legacy. Again, great with storytelling. You notice I'll plug storytelling a lot because I love doing that. That's more my drive for doing this than actually being an animator. It's telling the story. Prime Legacy is just a spin-off of Transformers Prime. And Combiner Wars is a short series which uses every single combiner from the Prime Wars series. And also, what was it? Nero Rex. Was it who made that one? The big Predaking third-party combiner.
That's my creation.
Thank you. I knew that. Do you want to work for me, Dan? And of course, last but not least, my good friend Matt down there. There he is. Hello. Say hello, Matt. There he is. He's got his own Transformers ongoing series. I don't know what the progress is with that, but he does Transformers Universe. But right now, at the moment, he's focusing on like brick films, so Green Arrow, Emerald Archer. Am I right?
I think so.
I didn't actually consult him on this. Oh, no, he knows. So those are like people that I recommend you check out if you want to learn more about this kind of niche part of the Transformers YouTube community. These are some great people to look at, and me as well. Like, comment, subscribe. So, how are we for time? Sick! Over to you guys. If you have any questions about what I do, or about stop motion, or why you're here, ask away and I will answer to the best of my ability. It will probably be I don't know more than actual answers. Yes?
So who's your favourite character to have animated? Like,
Don't ask me that. Oh, sorry?
Like Possibility and Ease animation.
Actually, Lockdown is great because he's got like 10 different ball joints in his neck. You saw as well, like, the cool thing about him is because he's got all those ball joints, he can do a lot more kind of subtle movements with like his body language. So I can get all those kind of like, get lost kind of moments. He's great. Unfortunately, he's a spindly one, and he's got like really floppy arms, so he can't really hold his arm up like that because he's really weak. Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think of other ones. The current Megatron figure that I'm filming with, Ride to Despotron from Make Toys. Make Toys. From Make Toys. He's really good. I can get like a really good walk cycle from him, which is an area that animators love to avoid because you've got to get very specific kind of like marks on that. But he balances really well when he's like poised. So he's probably my favourite one like to do a walk cycle with. However, I've only done one. I should do some more. But yeah, I'd say Ride to Despotron, Megatron. Anyone else? Yourself.
Do you play any Halo games?
I do. I haven't played many recently. I'm mostly a PlayStation guy. But yeah, I do love Halo. Halo's great. Yes, sir.
With animations, transformations, you have to cheat, obviously, otherwise it'd be too long. Any tips for that?
How do we cheat?
Well, okay, using an example, MP10 Masterpiece Optimus Prime, you don't do the whole thing. You don't do the whole transformation.
Oh, yeah. One thing, that's another example actually in the video I just showed, when Lockdown transformed like Black Shadow steps on, we're like, one more thing. That transformation is done in 2 parts, so you can skip a few steps between that. If you do like half a transformation and then the rest of it from a different shot, that kind of like speeds it up. it depends on the sort of shot you're going for, I guess. But yeah, you can split the transformation into a couple of different shots. That's one way of doing it. Or if you want to do like a really speedy transformation, do it in like 10 frames or less. Like if you want to do like a slower transformation, you will need more shots. But yeah, that's a one way of doing it. You can do it in like 7, 8 frames, just make a really quick sort of thing. So yeah, that's one way of doing it. Yes, sir.
What made you choose tread shot to be the main character of Broken Mirror?
Oh, I've got a tread shot focus question. Oh, the great thing about tread shot is that no one knows who he is. For those unfamiliar, the main character of Broken Mirror and Ascension is Shattered Glass Treadshot, who's the blue. He's Reveal the Shield Jazz in Armada Sideswipe's colours. And I chose him mostly because he's like a blank slate, because he's not really, the only fiction he has is the Invasion comic, the BotCon comic. That's pretty much all that exists about that version, so it was a lot easier to create a new personality around a character that doesn't really have one. Yeah, that's basically it. And he's also got a cool colour scheme. And he's Reveal the Shield Jazz. Everyone loves that figure. He's great, yeah. Yes, sir?
Right, so you said you played Warhammer. What's your army? What was your army?
What was my army? I used to play Space Marines. I was such a vanilla Warhammer...
For the Emperor.
For the Emperor, indeed. I was Space Marine, Ultramarine 2nd Company, and then I realised that everyone was playing Ultramarine 2nd Company, so I painted mine up with green, like, details instead of gold, so it was the 4th Company, and didn't have to repaint every single one. I've sold most of them off now to fuel my other crippling addiction. Robots, that's robots. Transformers. What? Yes, that's good. 5 minutes. Any last questions? Got 5 minutes. Ruth!
In terms of animating, would you suggest Masterpiece Classics or some subsection things that I don't know about?
Oh, if you're starting out, you don't want to go with Masterpieces. They are fiddly figures. You want to go with like the Chug kind of stuff, so the Classics generations, all those kinds of ones. They're a lot easier to animate with, purely in terms of simplicity and size. If you want to animate Masterpieces, then by all means go for it, but it's a process. Anyone else? Yes, in the yellow.
So this is really a technical question. So when you're editing your videos, it's going to sound stupid. Do you sit in like a dark room? Because my lecturers, we put us into a dark room to edit, and tell us not to come outdoor and it's complete. So do you sit in a dark room, or do you sit like with people chatting?
I sit in a well-lit room and stare at a computer screen for 5 hours on like non-stop. I do all my editing in my bedroom, by the way. That is my like editing studio. Just like I'm on my computer with all my software. I just edit in that, and then I look outside. And, my eyes. Then I turn into a bat. At the back there, yes.
Are there any like particular figures or lines that you would recommend kind of staying away from? Like are kind of too difficult, are like very like are very like finicky or like not good to try and animate with?
One-step changes. One-step changes. If you're going to animate with something that can like move properly. I sound like such like a purist. I'm sorry. I'm not full of hate. Like the classics figures, the generations, Prime Wars figures, like most like the mainline kind of figures for us kind of our kind of age range, like 8+, as they put on the packages now. those are the best ones to go with. I recommend those. If you want to animate with a Masterpiece figure, or if you want to try and combine Nero Rex, then by all means go for it. But yeah, I recommend like baseline Transformers. But that's what I've always worked with. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
What started your love for animation?
Animation in general. Just growing up on it. So, like I said before, Water Gromit. Chicken Run! Chicken Run's great. Wait! yeah, Chicken Run, and then there was, like I said before, the Brick Films on YouTube, and then finding other Transformers animators on there too. How are we for time?
2-3 minutes.
Wow, I'm ahead of schedule. Gail!
Do you find the animating addictive? Is it sort of you do one and then you're sort of fired up, or is it a case you've got to rest between it?
I find it tedious. Yeah, as with any creative types, you get like creative streaks and then you burn yourself out and you can't do it. This is why season 2 is taking 3 years to make. Because aside from having a job and having to eat and sleep and breathe, yeah, it's a very time-consuming process. But when I do get those creative spurts, I like go for it, and I can usually create something amazing, and then that kind of feeds off it as well. It's like, oh, I've made something great. Let's make another great thing. Oh, oh, I ruined it. Oh well, I'll use it. Anyone else? Hands right up. Yes.
When using green screens, what do you use for lighting?
My kitchen lights. I'm a professional! It's literally just the lighting in my kitchen. I know that people, like, with the ARC set, I do have like a proper lighting rig, and that helps because it is like an enclosed space, but with the green screen, it's literally what I'm working with, and I tell my mother, close the curtains, mother, the sunlight's getting in! It's yellowing my toys! Yes, Dan, what do you want?
What are you going to pay me?
Never. I hope that answered your question. Anyone else? Any last questions? Gail again?
Again, if you're doing a scene where somebody's running, but the background's got to change, how would you shorten the time of that?
How do you mean?
Someone's doing a repetitive motion like running,
Oh yeah.
but they've got to go past scenery for change. How do you cheat to slow it, to speed up doing that?
I do like a run. I film like a run cycle. I do it for like cars as well when they're in the vehicle modes. You just turn their wheels like 3 or 4 times and like loop that for 10 seconds. So that's one way of doing it. Or you just like film their arms in like,
Yeah.
and then reverse it.
Yeah.
That's the cheap way. And then with the background, just like it'll probably be like a CGI background. So you just like take a picture and panning effect on it. So yeah. Yes, sir.
Was there like any piece of Transformers media that got you into it in the first place? Was it just toys still?
Yeah, it will probably be the first movie. And then, as I mentioned before, the spin-off comic that the UK Transformers comic did with Twilight's Last Gleaming, where the Autobots lost, Megatron gets the All-Spark, takes over Earth. That was the biggest inspiration for Uprising, which was the sequel to More Than Meets the Eye. More Than Meets the Eye is like the most vanilla Transformers series you can get. Oh, the Autobots come to Earth and they fight for the All-Spark, but Megatron wants it as well. I did 3 episodes of that. Because I think Uprising was the main thing I wanted to get to. I was like, I'll do the... People know the story, I'll just do 1, 2, 3, there we go, that's how it goes. Oh no, Earth is ruined. Oh, look what you've done, Megatron. That was like the main inspiration for Uprising, that particular comic run. And then Broken Mirror and Ascension, I wanted to do like a fresh start with that, so most of my inspiration for that came from the OKW comics. And like the expanse, like the huge world that they've got there, and all the different characters and locations. Yeah, it was a desire to do like a completely blank slate, and so I ripped off another continuity. So that was the main one. Yes, that.
Do you ever get a temptation just to create something stupid, just film something stupid just for the hell of it? Like, I don't know, a figure doing the robot, for example.
Absolutely. I was gonna like brush that off and say, oh, I made an hour and 50-minute movie. How does that count? I've recently started making animations with the Bots figures. They're great. The first one I made was with Whirl and Radhax, the laptop. It's just, the only bit of animation I do is Whirl coming in, opening up the laptop, like, clicking his fingers together, and then he notices, like, Radhax's expression, and then it's like 20 seconds of just dramatic zooms. You know, his face looks like sweating profusely. And the other one that I've done, we good? Okay, and the other one that I did was with the Lace Face, the American football, and I took a clip from Game Grumps. They'd be like, hey Aaron, let's play football. But Dan, I don't know how to play football. He loves the football at his face. Now, that's fun. I like doing those because they're easy to do. It's animation. It counts towards my quota for the year. Yeah, those are fun, and I want to do more of those. Yeah.
You all right? Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for coming. Like I said before.